Hi, welcome everyone to our latest NASHONOMICS Now. I'm Jaron Springer, CEO with Greater Nashville Realtors. This quarter's topic is the growth and revitalization in the Madison and Rivergate areas. And our speakers today are Tim Ellis, Goodlettsville City Manager, Daniel Forbes, Vice President of Investments with Artesia, Laura Knotts, President of the Madison Rivergate Chamber of Commerce. Please note that a recording of this session will be available on all our social media channels, and we'll also post it on our website. Speaking of our website, we launched a new site about a month ago, and I hope you find it more mobile friendly and that you see improvements to our member portal. We'll also have a mobile app launching very soon, so be on the lookout for that. An in-person event you should know about is our State of Housing panel on July 16th at 9:30 a.m. We have partnered with Axios Media for an in-depth analysis of where the housing market and local economy stand heading into the second half of the year. And the panel will consist of Realtor Sean Sheriotti, Dr. Murat Arik, MTSU's Director of the Business and Economic Research Center, and Metro Council member Berkeley Allen. You can find information about this event on our website or by calling our office. And the last thing I'd like to mention is that our Board of Director nominations open on July 1st. So anyone interested in serving on our Board of Directors and running for those positions, please look for this opportunity next week. Now I'd like to introduce Greater Nashville Realtors past president, Brian Copeland, who will serve as the moderator for today's event. Welcome to all the panel members, and thank you, Brian, for hosting.
Thank you, Jaron. Good to see everyone here today. Welcome, Realtor family. Thank you for everyone joining us on Facebook, whether you're in real estate or not. We may have some neighbors here who just want to find out about what's going on also. This has been one of the hottest topics today. So before we start and before I get going with the panel, I will be doing a slide share with you just to kind of give you an overview of Madison here. So as we go to that slide deck, you're going to see here several pieces that are going to play. Could we go back to the first slide? I've got control of that now. Great. Thank you. All right. So here is what we've seen the Madison median property value look like. I want you to look at that average price there, 364, 340, which is well below what we're seeing even at a national level. So Madison is one of those still best kept secrets. A lot of people have this misconception of Madison. They think, gosh, it's out in the middle of nowhere. What you don't realize, those people who say that, you can be from Madison to Titan Stadium in roughly 3.5 minutes. You can be from the most remote areas of Madison, where I live, to downtown within 15 minutes. So some people have got a misconception that Madison is far out there, and it's not. So if you have got buyers who are looking for property, especially if they fall below that $500,000 price point, you've certainly got to be looking at there. For our commercial agents, and we'll be talking a lot today with Daniel about some of the commercial things that's going on, but for our commercial agents, there's lots of exciting new commercial developments that are going on where you can get some high-level square footage at a very good price also. So if you look there at the chart here again, you see it starts at July of 2008. I want you to look at around October of 2012. You're going to see that market dipped to its all-time low. Guess what I did at that dip and had no clue? I bought my house there. So we paid, get ready for a shocker, for almost 15 acres, house, 4 bedrooms, gorgeous land. I paid $206 for my house in Madison back in that dip there. So we got in, and again, I always, sorry for the perhaps insensitive parallel here, but I always say it's kind of like a tornado that hits overnight when you're looking at a marketplace. You don't know what it looks like until after it's passed. And we had no clue when we were purchasing in Madison that we were at the very bottom of that most recent market. Madison had this huge, used to go to Madison Square, which we'll talk about here later. Madison Square was like the Green Hills Mall of Greater Nashville. It was where a lot of the high-end shopping stores were, and then we saw a decline in values there, and they started in the 90s, and then it started upticking again back there in that 2011, 2010 zone, and then has not stopped. So when you're talking to your buyers about everything that's going on there, be very cognizant of this great increase. And again, I don't think we are at the top of the increase. We know there's a process called edge investments. We know that when Lachlan Springs started taking off, it was Edgefield right before that was taking off. And then when Lachlan Springs got outpriced, they went to Eastwood Neighbors. And then people went on the other side of Gallatin Pike. And then everyone up to 37216 in Inglewood. Now they've crossed Briley Parkway into Madison. So many of the buyers we're seeing there are they're not out of town buyers. They're actually coming in from East Nashville. Today, we'll be talking about several areas with our panelists today. So I want you to be aware of where these areas are specifically. When we talk to Daniel today, Daniel's going to be really talking, and Laura also, about this Red Square area. This is the Madison Square area. For those of you who aren't familiar with the area, it's at the corner of Neely's Bend and Gallatin Pike. Again, from that intersection of Neely's Bend and Gallatin Pike, there's a Walgreens there. It will take you roughly 12 minutes to get to downtown with traffic in that zone. Also, we'll be talking about an area called where Laura's office is, there with the Chamber of Commerce in the Madison Station Boulevard area. So we'll be talking about that today also. So be familiar with that. If you want to do a screenshot of that later, feel free to grab that before I go on to the next slide. Okay, now this is a rendering that's probably older. It's a lot older, but this is what some of the changes that have been proposed for Madison Square. Right now, Madison Square has several tenants in it that I'll talk again with Daniel about a little bit later, but this kind of gives you a vision of what's happening in that Madison Square area. This is an idea of what could happen at Madison Park, at the Madison Station Park, which is there right beside the library and across from another place I'm going to show you called Harkin Hall. If you haven't been to Harkin Hall in Madison, in my opinion, it is the best music venue we've got going for this size. The owners of this facility are amazing. The things they're bringing in are diverse. The sound is insanely good. One of the things I love most about Harkin Hall is the upstairs. When you go into that area to sit in the balcony, it's actually couches and chairs with little like 1920s lamps. So while you'll be at this concert, you're actually like you're sitting in a living room and it's terraced. And then if you have one of the tables that are on the side that you can sit at, they have you a reserved space at the actual rail that you can stand up and look over. It's just amazing. If you haven't got to Harkin Hall, I highly recommend you going to their website. If you have clients who are looking at the Madison area and don't know a lot about it, have them check out all the entertainment that comes to Harkin Hall. And again, Laura's office is right next door, so she gets to see that every day. Some of the other exciting things that's going on, I always track what's going on with Madison based off of what has moved there from other parts of town. As we know, when the Gulch started, we all remember, for many of us, we remember what the Gulch was. It had a lot of adult bookstores in it, a lot of commercial real estate that wasn't as expensive as certain real estate. And then Yazoo Brewery moved into the Gulch. That was one of the very first tenants in the Gulch. Well, guess where Yazoo Brewery is now? They moved to Madison. Another tenant that was in the Gulch was the Housing Fund, which has a great, if you're not familiar with that, and you're not part of the affordable housing initiatives for Greater Nashville Realtors, you need to check out those initiatives, and the Housing Fund is one of them. Their photos there in the middle of the screen. They were in the Gulch also in Mercury Lofts. Guess where they're at now? They're in Madison too. So again, a lot of people are making their way to Madison because they see what's going on there and the excitement. The old Kmart that was there at the corner of Gallatin Pike and Briley Parkway is now in this parking lot. You can see Shotgun Willie's Barbecue, which moved from East Nashville into this space. There's a shawarma place, which I always say that wrong, so don't make my son Zach sitting over there. He's probably laughing at me for pronouncing that wrong. And Daddy's Dog is in there now. True Fit Fitness is there. There's a dog training place called Zoom Room. And then there's, of course, Eastside Bowl, which has amazing concerts happening all the time there. And that's at that corner. And then, of course, the final, and probably Laura will get mad at me for sharing this secret, Pinky Ring Pizza. If you go into the Foodies of Nashville Facebook group and then you want to ask about pizza, Pinky Ring's going to always be brought up. It's one of the best pizza places in Nashville, and it's also in Madison now. So you've got to check it out. The second area we'll be talking about today, we talked more about historic Madison just now, is going to be the Rivergate area. So this map, again, take a screenshot of it if you would like, so you're ready when we get to this part of the presentation. Madison Rivergate Mall. For those of you who remember, we had Hickory Hollow Mall, we had Bellevue Mall, Bellevue Center Mall, and then we had Cool Springs Mall back in the day. Rivergate Mall was a beaming, thriving mall that lost its tenants, and so now there's a lot of things going there. If you have not been there, just wait. I'm going to let Tim talk a lot about that today, but so you can get a visual of what that looks like. The one thing I do want to talk about, and I'll be talking to Tim about this later, about the uniqueness of this. This does straddle the county line, the city line, excuse me. Half of this square is in Madison. The other half is in Goodlettsville. And when we talk to Tim a little bit about the governance of Goodlettsville and how that's run, we'll talk a little bit about how some things that your buyers need to understand when they're buying in these zones also. So that's the Rivergate area. And this is some of the renderings we've seen that you can find on the internet by Googling. Again, as Tim will tell you later, we don't have a whole lot of information on this. These developers have been working through a lot of pieces, and Tim will bring us up to date on a lot of those things today. So that's a little Madison overview before we go into everything today. Make sure that you're chatting in your questions. Blake and Mason will be following those questions today, and we will have questions and answers in the last part of today's presentation. So Jaren's already introduced our speakers. So if we get the speakers on the screen for us, you can take the slide away for me, mate. Appreciate that. And so I'm going to start today with Daniel. Daniel's the Vice President for Investments for Artesia. And Daniel, if you could tell us a little bit about your company and what investments y'all have made in the Madison community.
Yeah, sure. Happy to. First of all, just want to say thank you for the invitation to this meeting and the opportunity to speak to the association about what we're working on. So Artesia, we're based in Austin. We're a real estate investment shop since 2012. And one of the key lines of our business over the years has been acquiring older shopping centers with redevelopment potential, where we're able to link arms with those existing communities and help them see their vision through for new uses at those properties. And more often than not, those redevelopments tend to be multifamily or mixed use. We really like to think very long term about our real estate, not in terms of a year, 2 years, 3 years, like a lot of development shops, but 10, 20, 30-year time horizons at times. And so in Madison, we own 3 different shopping centers. I'll start with Madison Station, which was already referenced, at Gallatin Pike and Neely's Bend, just south of 50 Forward in Harkin Hall. Then second, we've got the Gallery at Rivergate, which is a smaller shopping center actually just across the street from the Rivergate Mall that we bought at the very beginning of 2025. And then we also own the Due West Plaza, which is just about a quarter mile south on Gallatin Pike from Madison Station. So the investment thesis for Gallery at Rivergate and Due West is really just long-term cash flow. So our focus there has been predominantly just to keep those businesses in place, improving tenancy where we can, and just supporting the businesses that operate there. And both of those we expect to hold on to for a very long time. But the project that most people are interested in, I think, is Madison Station. So Artesia and our business partner, Tyler Cobble with the Cobble Group, we purchased that site in March of 2021. And we really see it as just a super unique opportunity to be right in the heart of Madison. It's a site with a lot of long-term potential, and it's going to require a very patient approach. And so one of the things as we talk through Madison Station, I know there's been a lot of talk about this site for a very long time, and certainly we're very excited to continue those conversations. But this is a site that's going to take a very long time to redevelop. The first phase of the project, however, we're expecting to kick off here, hopefully by the end of the year, delivering just over 200 units of affordable housing, which we're super excited about. And then the balance of the center, we expect to be redeveloped over the next decade plus, pending market conditions. And our conceptual plans right now are calling for somewhere around 1.7 million square feet of commercial and residential space, neighborhood transit center, and some other public improvements. And so a lot going on in Madison, and we're just super thankful to be part of the building that story for this next phase of Madison's growth.
For those of you who aren't as aware of the Madison Station, Madison Square that he's talking about, it's where Nashville Nightmare is, which takes a lot of that real estate up. Very, very popular attraction, brings a lot of money into that Madison community, a lot. And then, of course, there's Garden Fresh, which are open at a second location. One of our realtors, Kamal Salpa, is one of the owners of that. And so Garden Fresh, if you haven't been up there, go to their back area, to their deli area. They have cheap, affordable, amazing food back there. Highly recommend it. And Daniel, thank you. I work out the Planet Fitness at one of your shopping centers, and y'all pressure washed the sidewalk the other day. And I
Yeah.
appreciate having a landlord who may be far away, but who's still taking care of the property. And I see what y'all are doing with your properties. Y'all have cleaned up Madison Square, even in light of it being torn down eventually. Our church used to be at that facility. We were in the old movie theater back there. So just so nice to have y'all take care of those things there. When you're talking about the 10-year process here, what does the ultimate culmination look like if you had your dream? And I'm not going to hold you to this, Daniel, obviously, because things change. But if you had your dream of what that area looks like, that one segment of Madison Square, Madison Station, what does it look like to you?
Yeah, so I think it looks like plus or minus 5+ phases of multifamily, mixed use, maybe some office, some retail. A lot of the what we anticipate being delivered over time is going to be really just dependent on what the Madison community and the market want. And so, we've got high hopes for a very dense multifamily led but mixed use development there. But again, we're gonna need to see what we see as the market develops and matures.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. And again, we'll come back to you on some other questions here, especially in the commercial zone here. But Laura, let's turn to you for a second now. Thank you for all you do for the Madison River Gate Chamber of Commerce. You've been such an amazing leader. You've gone through some of the most pivotal moments in Madison, especially here recently. So tell us a little bit about the mission of the chamber, what you do, what your day-to-day looks like there, and a little bit about the chamber.
So I just want to start with, I actually grew up in Madison. So when you talk about, it hitting some of its lows in the 90s, I was growing up during that time period, and I was going to Madison Square every Friday night with my dad. It was every Friday night we went to Video Gallery. That was a little family tradition. And I also want to just quickly say, if there's background noise, everyone, I'm so sorry. I'm in the middle of driving to the beach with my family, but when I was invited to do this, I couldn't say no. I wanted to be here. So I apologize for any background noise. But part of the reason that I was so interested in this position and why I have been here so long is because I love Madison. It's where I grew up. I am on the same street that I grew up on. My dad has lived in the same house for more than 50 years. All my aunts and uncles live on the same street. We're all in Montague. So to me, it's not just a job. It is personal because it's where I'm raising my kids. It's where I plan on always living. So when I got this job, that was really just perfect for me because it's exactly where I want to be, watering my own grass, making my community what I want to have it be for the long term. So that being said, the day-to-day is something different every single day, and that's why I love it. So sometimes it's meeting with investors and talking about potential projects and whether we think that will be beneficial for the community. I recently wrote a letter of support for a potential new project coming up that we're excited about. It could be meeting with members and talking with them about issues that they're seeing at their particular business. I always tell people we have a lot of nonprofits, we have a lot of small businesses, we also have a lot of larger members. So what they need is all different. Some of our smaller businesses, it may be helping them coming up with marketing plans or helping them plan special events when that's not really their area. So we do a lot of consulting. It may be helping them get in touch with metro, state, or even federal level representatives to help with any issues that they're seeing. We work a lot with the Madison Police Precinct. We co-host events with them. We meet with them about any issues that we're seeing. So on very friendly, almost daily talk basis with them. So it's something different every single day, but it's always focused on how can we improve our community and the businesses in that area.
So I don't want to steal your thunder on this one, but I want to ask you your 5 things you're most excited about coming up in Madison. But the things I want to share is the Metro Police Mounted Horse Division just moved to Madison. They opened their barns just about 5 weeks ago. I know this because I look out my back window and there's the barn. So every day when I ride my bike, I get to pass the horses. I counted 8 yesterday. So anytime you see a horse downtown that is doing police work, it is now based in Madison. So kind of exciting. A second business I love in Madison is one of our most active affiliates at Greater Nashville Realtors, Kevin Kennerson with Lendingham Mortgage. They have an amazing facility on Lentz Avenue up there. I know he's very active in your chamber also. And you've got a lot of realtors. You can join the Madison Rivergate Chamber of Commerce. They've got so many programming. They have all kinds of the luncheons they have amazing speakers. We were hearing all these things years ago before they're even to this point because they come here first. So when you think about the maybe 5 things you're most excited about coming to Madison, what would you say?
Oh gosh, in process or the things that have recently happened?
Either. What are you? Just those 5.
Well, you know, I'm over at Pinky Ring as much as I possibly can be. Don Hernandez, the owner there, has been absolutely amazing. If you grew up in the area or you know what Sir Pizza was like, I was in Sir Pizza. I grew up with it, but it had not changed since like the 70s. You had your tiny little TV with your daytime soap opera, and I loved it for what it was, but you would not recognize it if you walked into Pinky Ring now. They took it down to the studs. It is beautiful. There's so much natural light, and the pizzas are all very unique. He sources a lot of local products and a lot of local ingredients. It's delicious. And they do slices, by the way. So love that. Love Madtown Coffee. That's been there for a few years now. And it's right in the heart of what you would call like downtown Madison, local coffee shop. I actually graduated high school with one of the owners, and she lives right behind me. The owners live in Madison. They also own the Ben and Jerry's over in 21st Hillsborough area. So they run both of those, and they are potentially looking at expanding the Ben and Jerry's franchise in the area. So that's a great potential. They love being able to live and work over there. But I have tons of meetings at Madtown. I invite potential members over there all the time. Sidekicks Cafe. Oh, sorry, Brian.
Yeah, Sidekicks. Yeah.
Yes. Sidekicks. It's right over on Graycroft, and
good pasture, yeah.
You can drive straight onto Ellington from there, straight into downtown. Kathy Horman, one of the owners there, really saw the vision before a lot of people did. She lived in that house before she turned it into Sidekicks Cafe. She's had cake and coffee and tea for decades. And even if you don't know it, you've probably had their tea and coffee because they're in more than 200 restaurants in Nashville. So that was their primary business, which is why the cafe that she always wanted to open is called Sidekicks, because it's their side to kicking coffee and tea. One of the things that all 3 of those places have in common, they are local. Their owners are incredibly passionate, not just about what they're doing, but they love the area. And when you walk in, they know you. They get to know you. They know what you like. They're asking about how you're doing. They ask about how your kids are doing. Sean at Pinky Ring is always showing me pictures of his kids. We're always talking about, what development and what's going on in our kids' lives. Corey at the front at Sidekicks is always doing the same. my dad and stepmom are there every Saturday that they're in town, and they make up their little table. They put like a tablecloth on it and like have a little reserve space. So one of the things that I love about Madison is that it still has that original kind of Nashville feeling that other areas of town, um, it's kind of going away a little bit. So you can
I
come
love
there and feel local.
I love what you said about sidekicks and you've had their coffee because it's all over Nashville. And I'm not a coffee
Yes.
person, but I went with a past Greater Nashville Realtors president to the Southern one time, and she said, "This is the best coffee I've ever had." And they're like, "It comes from a place in Madison called Sidekicks."
Yeah.
Yeah, if you got to try those places out, great hash brown casserole too. So I'll give a
Yes.
plug in for that. Now we're going to move up to the Rivergate zone, and so Tim Ellis is the city mayor for Goodlettsville. And Tim, anyone who's driven by Rivergate Mall, and who hasn't driven by Rivergate Mall in a while, they're going to be shocked. Can you tell us a little bit about what's happening there at the Rivergate Mall site?
Yes, sir. Well, first, let me go back and correct. I'm the city manager. I just want to make sure that we didn't cross a line there with
Sorry.
representation. But what's going on in Rivergate? It is basically a 1 million square foot mall that has ran its life. I did a call similar to this last Friday with a podcast out of Seattle, and it was kind of funny that talking about malls that have run their life and how the next generation comes about. Rivergate, as you mentioned early on in the broadcast, it was the hub of the region. Like I said, 1 million square feet, ran its life. One of the big problems we had in the redevelopment that it wasn't one owner. It was 4 different owners. It was Macy's ownership, JCPenney's ownership, Dillard's, who, by the way, is staying. They are open. They are thriving. I encourage you to visit them, and as well as the Guitar Center will be the only 2 remaining stores that is a part of this development. It's kind of funny. This started with the Macy's property coming up for sale. Originally, BJ's Wholesale Club was going to sit where Macy's was, where BJ's Wholesale Club sitting now was going to be Home and Decor. Needless to say, Home and Decor made a mistake and went to another city. That's their decision. And then BJ's, because could not come to terms, built on that location. So that really kicked off things with a developer that we were working with. And we encouraged them to have conversations with what I call the primary mall ownership, and that is the internal pieces of the mall, the shops, and the Sears building. Kind of turned it loose from there. They came to terms with everyone and now have closed on all the property except for Dillard's. They will retain their ownership. And I would say today that is about 65% demolished. And they will be before the City of Goodlettsville Planning Commission Monday night for their final master plan. Smith G Studios out of Nashville is doing the design. Smith G did a lot, if not most, a lot of the Gulch development. So we're really excited. It is going to be mixed use, housing, medical, restaurants, businesses, offices, and it has been a great adventure to getting from one point A to point B, because there's a lot of A1s, A2, and A3s in the middle that did not work out. So that is where it is. There's a lot of negotiations that went along with this. There's a certain percentage of public funding through tax incremental funding that was given to the developer, both by the city of Nashville and the city of Goodlettsville, primarily the city of Nashville, since the property tax rate is so much greater there, it would benefit them more. Um, so that is where we are today. It is moving forward. I can't speak to timelines. That would be something is the developer Maris, who does have an office on site now, and things have taken off.
So let's talk about the infrastructure of the way the Goodlettsville will move. You've got this meeting coming up again, as you said, on Monday of next week. What day is it on? Tim, are you with us? Okay. So Laura, do you remember what date he said that meeting was on?
He said Monday.
Monday. Okay. Tim, are you with us again?
I am
Okay.
here. I'm not sure what happened.
A little bit. Okay. On Monday's meeting, first, I assume that's open for others to come to if they wanted to come to that meeting, or is it closed?
Yes, it is. It is open meeting for our planning commission, and there is a period of time, or there's not really a public hearing, but there's always by state law a period of time for public comment on any item on the agenda. But like I said, the plan has not changed significantly from what was originally proposed. It's just a matter of what can fit on that 56 acres that they have purchased and how it will go.
So they'll go before planning, and then they will have to have their waiting time. And then is there another approval that happens with the Goodlettsville City Council at that point?
No, the city of Goodlettsville Board of Commissioners have approved all that has to be done. And one was the original regional center zoning, which somewhat mirrors what Metro had done years ago in that general area. That was done to kind of to make sure that when a developer came in, there wasn't a lot of differences between the city of Goodlettsville zoning and Metro Nashville zoning in regards to this property. And that has worked flawlessly. I could not commend our planning director, who was on staff at the time, for doing that, because one of the things that you pointed out in the beginning, we're 56 acres site, and because when when Nashville became a metropolitan form of government, satellite cities could not annex territory anymore. So that wasn't bad from 1963 to 1972, but 1972 they built the mall right across the city limits. And for 72 until 2006, I would say probably 60%, 65% of the mall was on the Madison side, and the other 35 was within our corporate limits. Most of what was in our corporate limits at the time was parking, Macy's, part of JCPenney's, part of Sears. But with the redevelopment, the percentages of buildings and commercial and residential will be a lot more equal across each boundary there going forward, which would benefit Goodlettsville, but still benefit Madison and Metro Nashville the same.
Yeah. So Daniel, you have the shopping center right across the street. That's the one that it's got like Longhorn Steak. Is that in that shopping center?
Yeah, Longhorn Steakhouse,
Destination DXL, the men's big and tall store, the cycle store. How do y'all? What are your take on like what's going on across the street there? Like, what does that do in your commercial mind for real estate?
Yeah, so I mean, we're really excited about it. I think bringing more rooftops to that particular location means more patrons for the businesses at our center. So yeah, I mean, I think there's certainly there likely to be some retail, some friendly competition right across the street, but it takes a host of different tenants and businesses to really make a thriving kind of pocket on this corridor. And so we're very excited about it.
Is Longhorn Steak the end of that development there? You don't go into like the Care Now and that the
That's
healthcare
right.
and the
Yeah. So we've got Longhorn Steakhouse, and then going northeast up to where the Cycle Gear is, and the strip that's behind that.
and then the area below there too. My
Correct.
parents live on that street, so
Okay.
they're if you don't know the housing in that area, again, for my residential agents watching today, that whole Shepherd's Hill area, Harbor Village has it's the number one motor-free waterfowl lake in Tennessee. I've got lots of unique birds on that. If you're a big bird watcher, a gorgeous area. Grant Burnett has some new listings back. What you remember that Riverview. There's a new subdivision back there. Zach talking to him from the peanut gallery here. Brand new construction. There's a lot of huge 2-acre lots up there, like what you would see in Creve Hall and Oak Hill. A lot of that same architecture that you see in Old Creve Hall, just absolutely gorgeous. So go out there and check out the Rivergate, Shepherd Hills area. It's real close to Hendersonville there also when you're looking at houses there. That area gets overlooked a lot because you don't think about houses being up there, but there are a lot, and it's a super convenient area. So Laura, let's talk about something that is near and dear, I know, to both of our hearts. And we know that anytime communities go through massive change, like what we're seeing at Madison Square, Madison Station, Rivergate, we see unhoused members of our community who end up in rough situations. What are you seeing when it comes to that community, and how are we helping making sure that community is taken care of?
Well, it's a big city problem, right? And it's a problem that realistically does not have an end, because the only way someone goes from being unhoused is to be housed. And that becomes an increasing problem when you see property and rents going up, especially in the exponential way that they have been. So unfortunately, that's not something that we anticipate seeing, an overnight improvement on. But we do work with our police precinct to work compassionately with our unhoused neighbors. Because there's a good percentage of them that don't want to be in that situation either. So we have a lot of services and a lot of nonprofits that we work with, not only for resources to make their lives a little easier, but we also have resources that help them try to get back into housing, that try to help them get documents that they may have lost, because that's a really big problem for unhoused people, is losing their ID, losing their birth certificate. And if you don't have a lot of those things and you don't have an address, you can't apply for a job, even if you want to be working. So there's a lot of nonprofits that we try to work with, and with the police precinct, to make that easier so that they can rejoin the workforce and find housing. A lot of those people actually are from Madison, and that's why they're there. That's the area that they know. So we have 18 housing vouchers available from the city each month total. And that doesn't mean that there's housing attached to it. That just means you're one of the lucky people who finally got a voucher. So it's really a lack of that transitional housing that is causing a bottleneck in that issue. But we try to work one-on-one with small businesses if they're having any particular issues. We connect them with services, nonprofits, and our police coordinator.
And we have an amazing faith-based community also in Madison.
Absolutely.
I have to go to City Road United Methodist. The work they do with the unhoused community is unbelievable. The food they provide, the housing when it gets warm shelters when it's time. Big shout out to City Road United Methodist. Of course, our church, Covenant of the Cross, which is out on the Walkway Trail in Madison, we're feeding over 400 families a month in that zone. And so, if you're looking to get involved in this helping of our unhoused community in these zones, please reach out to those areas. Reach out to Laura. Reach out to me. We can certainly connect you with people who can help in those zones. And when we're talking, Daniel, about commercial real estate and the change in commercial real estate. Candidly, people get used to their businesses. They've had the same business in their neighborhood for years, and some people are they're passionate about not losing certain businesses. And you're walking this strange line between. And East Nashville saw this. I mean, I remember driving down Gallatin Pike, and we wouldn't see some of the places we see now on Gallatin Pike as you go through near Kroger, Aldi, all those zones. Now Publix, Starbucks, and there's this yin and yang when it comes to commercial real estate. How are y'all working with current tenants to make sure that they retain through and their business increases where they can afford what happens in Nashville as a whole, just not Madison, but then also attract the new entrepreneurs, those chefs, those people who they're going to be looking for affordable, diverse commercial real estate. And I know Tyler that y'all are working with. Tyler's one of the best at it. Talk to us a little bit about your philosophies on that and what you see happening.
Yeah, so this is a really important question, I think, as a shopping center owner, and we really like to think about it both in kind of the long term as well as the short term. And so within the short term, we bought the Madison Station in 2021 with a lot of tenants and leases in place, and some of which don't even mature until well into the 2030s. And so while other developers might look at that situation and go, okay, this is a roadblock to my ultimate objectives here, we look at those leases and we say, okay, this is a demonstration that even if the community wants Madison Square to be something else in the future, it still has a very important place in the community today. And so it's still a thriving place where businesses are succeeding, people are shopping, and it serves an important role. And so our desire from day one when we bought the center was to keep that good thing going for as long as we can. We want to honor the lease commitments that have been in place and maintain as much of the character and the tenant mix of the center in the short term as we can. So that's on the short term. The long term, I think there's two things that I would want to say there. So first of all, businesses and business needs change over time. And so, we fully expect that the tenant mix that we have today is not going to look the same 3 years from now. Tenants come and go. It's impossible to ensure that the center doesn't change at all over time. And so when a space does become available, Brian, to your point, it gives us an opportunity to bring another business in that's excited about Madison and excited about what's coming. And then second, on the long-term side of things, our redevelopment goals here are structured to occur in phases over time and with a priority to honor the lease agreements that we have in place. And so as the time comes, as we get into fully planning and permitting later phases, which again, we're just at a conceptual stage and very preliminary, we're excited to be able to have conversations with the existing tenants that we have at the center. This is obviously still very likely a long way off given current market conditions, but we're excited to have those conversations when the time comes for what it could look like for them to be part of the retail that we hope to bring to the future of Madison Square, Madison Station.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable. I think what we saw in 12 South, what we originally saw way back at Hillsborough Village, what we see now in the East Nashville corridor, 5 Points. Businesses are begging for new hot spots with walkability, all those pieces, and Madison has all that. And when we look at the demographic that's coming in and the demographic that's already there, there's a need for that. So thank you for continuing to invest in that zone. Tim, let's talk a little bit about the unique position Rivergate sits in between Goodlettsville, Madison, and Hendersonville. Talk about what opportunities do you see beyond perhaps what's going on right now at that development spot? Are there other opportunities we're missing?
Well, I mean, one of the greatest opportunities is in that what I call triad, Gallatin Road, Vietnam veterans, and I-65. You're looking at 200,000 cars a day. So the
Mhm.
attractiveness to that area is there. Going back to something that Daniel talked about, yeah, as Rivergate is developed, it will create some level of competitiveness. But the good part in this is we're also putting those homeowners, those renters, there to utilize those businesses instead of just previously like the mall, kind of standalone. You had to go to it. You now have a city within a city in that mixed use area. Um, One of the things that hasn't been mentioned yet, and I laugh about this because it's not in our city limits, between Chick fil A and In and Out Burger, this must be the granddaddies of takeout food because I have never seen such queue lanes for cars to pick up um, in my life, and I expect that to be also a great driver of people coming to the area. You know, once again, shopping at Dillard's during this interim period of time, but also at their other shops, both across the road and there internally. But I would say accessibility and the number of people driving by that location is astronomical in the grand scheme of things.
And we can't ignore Goodlettsville just as its own community. Franklin gets so much attention just because of its PR piece and all that. But what's the antique store, Zach, you go to a lot over there? Wild Bird, or what's it called again? Anyway, you have an antique store there. The antiquing, if you've not been to Goodlettsville Antique Zones, you're missing out. Driving through downtown Goodlettsville, you can spend a whole day just antiquing there. Chef's Market, which I'm sure, Tim, you probably had your fill of Chef's Market too. We love going up there to eat. If you're not taking business clients there when you're on the north side, Daniel, have you got to go to Chef's Market yet while you've been in this area?
I haven't,
You need
so
to add it to
I'm
your
putting
list.
that on my next trip itinerary.
Yeah,
No,
there's
let me know when you're here. I'll go with you.
yeah,
Okay.
it's so good. There's strawberry cake, probably the best you've ever had. The pot roast, I highly recommend too. Goodlettsville's got so many amazing things going on, and Tim, I know it's such an exciting time to be in Goodlettsville too. So for all three of you, just quickly, 30 seconds or less, um, what um, what if you've got an audience mostly of real estate professionals, what do you think they need to know about, or what are you working on, and how can someone be a part of that input, or attracting businesses or attracting consumers to your places, Daniel? What can they be a part of that? Daniel, you want to start for us?
Sure. Yeah, happy to. So I think what I would say is that real estate professionals and realtors play a much bigger role in kind of that community creation than they probably realize. You're often the first people that are really telling the story of what of the community to somebody that's thinking about moving there, opening a business there, making an investment. And so just awareness for the public of what's happening in Madison and Rivergate is huge. A lot of people haven't taken a fresh look at the area in a while. And so a lot of positive things happening. And so telling that story, and then selfishly feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn if you've got a tenant that you might want to put in some space in Madison, because we've got some vacancy and we'd be happy to have a conversation.
Great. And before I come to you, Laura, next, keep in mind if you have questions, I do have some questions we may try to get to that came in before. If you have questions, please chat those in at this point, and we're going to go to general questions at that point. Laura, answer the question for you. How could real estate professionals get involved in this process?
So I think one of the things to keep in mind for whether you're residential or commercial is, yes, the last little like vestige of affordability is in the area, but also just from letting people know that like if you want a feel of truly local, that's what you're going to get, not only residentially but also commercially. We've worked very hard to create a business community that feels like a community where people know each other, can call each other, they know their customers. So there's going to be a lot of that close-knit feeling. We have a lot of neighborhood associations that are very active. I know, like my neighborhood, we have block parties and all kinds of stuff. So if that strong sense of community is something that your tenant or your client is looking for, that's going to be found in our area, and it will be a strong selling point.
And get in the Rivergate Chamber. Go join. Go join.
Yeah, please. Yes. Help us grow.
Tim, same question. Anything that you could see how people could get involved in this process?
Well, I think it's really, I want to expand a little bit on what Laura just said. We just went through a significant rebranding project for the city. And one of the things that we have identified ourselves as Goulitsville, Rivergate, even Madison in this case. I mean, we're the front door to Nashville. To get to Nashville, you're going to have to go through Madison or Goulitsville. So I think with the hospitality industry that we have in place and what is coming, if people do not reach out and look at what is available, you're going to miss out because it is there, it is real, and it is coming in a hurry. Both Madison, Goulitsville, Rivergate, it's all falling in place. May have taken a little while to get that plan moving forward, but it's now in place and moving forward.
Okay. And we'll take probably two outside questions. The first question we have is, as these projects move forward, they're exciting, but they're also super complex. What's the biggest challenge or risk you're focused on overcoming right now? Daniel, does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So I think the biggest challenge that we're focused on overcoming right now is unfortunately something outside of our control, and that's just market conditions. So to build a project as big as what's happening at Rivergate Mall or at Madison Station it's very expensive. And so to offset that cost, you need to have the revenues in place to make it work. And I think at a high level, that's really just what we're waiting on is for the profitability of a future redevelopment to be there. And so that's the biggest challenge I think that we're working on, and the way that we're working to actively mitigate that is I think development breeds development. And so being able to kick off that first phase with some affordable housing that should bring more, just focus to Madison Station. I think that's what our hope is in the short term, is to just be able to get some momentum going. And then waiting and creating awareness as much as we possibly can for the future.
Tim?
This point, as far as Tim and the city of Goulitsville, it is sitting back and being a support agent to the developer to navigate the process. Because in our case, especially Rivergate, you're talking about two different government, two different set of rules. So we're just kind of the ambassador at this point. So we help navigate those issues when they come up, and we feel like we're pretty good at that.
Cool. Laura, we'll give you last question here that we have. If you could leave this audience with one reason to be optimistic about the future of Madison and Rivergate, what would it be?
Oh gosh, I mean, the development we've already had is amazing, but there's a lot of opportunity still. There are properties coming up for sale. I saw a new one on the corner of Madison Station Boulevard and Old Hickory Boulevard just yesterday with a for sale sign going up. So there's still a lot of opportunity to get in at an affordable level when you see major projects coming and those prices are about to go way up. So we're still at that beginning stage where you can kind of jump in and watch things take off exponentially. So I think that's the most exciting part to me.
Great. So I want to say thank you to Tim, Daniel, and Laura. This has been, this Nashonomics franchise started with a large event where we bring people to Trevecca. It's actually started downtown. And then we started doing these smaller breakouts. And this is one of the things we heard constantly from our members was they wanted to hear about this area. There's a lot of excitement going around it. And we couldn't have asked when we were putting this together. Y'all were our first three, and to get the who's who of who we wanted in our first ask is amazing. So thank y'all for being a part of that. For those of you who are watching today, if you are a consumer watching today and you're not working with a real estate professional, we want you to know about what's going on here in the zone. And thank you for watching. You're always welcome. For those of you who are seeing this in the archive on Facebook, make sure you are educating yourself on this area. For our real estate professionals who are watching today, whether you're being commercial real estate, residential real estate, lending, affiliate program, get to Madison, drive the areas, get into Goodlettsville, drive the streets, get to know these areas because consumers are going to continue to come back. On behalf of the board of directors for Greater Nashville Realtors, the staff, the leadership, we appreciate y'all coming today, and I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your week. Thanks.